Hey gang, are you new to this podcast? Have you subscribed on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts and realized that you can only access the 20 most recent shows on these platforms? Do you, my friend, want to binge on How Did I Get Here? Well, check out our archives that are available on the Podbean app. If you follow us on the Podbean app, we have every single show ever released on that platform. You'll also get all of your favorite shows like Fresh Air, WTF with Mark Maron, ID10T, the Michelle Obama podcast. All podcasts available there, and you can also access over 1,000 How Did I Get Here episodes. So, download the Podbean app from your app store and start listening today. Let's get down. Attention Austin musicians and music industry professionals. Are you having a difficult time navigating these waters, especially after the coronavirus and all the clubs have been closed? You don't know what to do? Well, let me tell you about a great resource for you. That's the Austin Music Foundation. Austin Music Foundation provides ongoing artist development services through its educational panels, one-on-one consultations, and online resources. Now listen, gang, all of that stuff is available to you, the artist or music industry professional, for free. And since coronavirus hit back in March and everything is closed down, Austin Music Foundation had the forethought to move all of their programs online. That's right, you can watch panels online, you can do your consultations online. Austin Music Foundation is there for you, and it's all free to you, the artist. Just go to austinmusicfoundation.org. That's austinmusicfoundation.org. Get involved.
You gotta open the vault.
Open my vault?
Open your vault.
Once I open the vault, it ceases to be a vault.
You have no choice.
Wait, the vault.
How did I get here from the vault? And now, here's your host, Johnny Dowdy.
All right, hello and welcome to an episode of How Did I Get Here from the Vault. Today we go back to episode 414 on September 15th, 2015 and talk to the man, the myth, the legend, the amazing Joe King Carrasco. Joe King Carrasco was in town at the time promoting his latest album at the time, which was called Chiliando, a very rockin' album. I suggest you go back and check it out if you are a Joe King Carrasco fan. If you're not, get into it, man. Joe King Carrasco is an institution. We have an amazing conversation about living in Mexico. He had moved to Puerto Vallarta, started his own club, started a dog rescue foundation called vivaperros.org. We talk about his journey as an artist, being one of the artists that was promoted by MTV at the very beginning of MTV, having Michael Jackson sing backup on a session, getting banned from Saturday Night Live. Tons and tons of history here with the man, the myth, the legend, Joe King Carrasco. So enjoy it. From episode 414 on September 15th, 2015, this is me and Joe King Carrasco talking. Let's get down.
How did I get here from the vault?
Woo! I told you I was at this birthday party.
Yeah.
And Kathy Valentine was there, and she said to say hi to you.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then I was talking to AJ Vallejo. Do you know him from Vallejo? He was like, hey, so what, who you got coming on the show? I was like, oh, I got Joe King Carrasco coming tomorrow. And he was like, tell him that, he said, when he moved here in 1995 or something,
yeah.
he saw you do a stage dive at Steamboat.
Yeah.
That he became a stage diver after. He was like, I'm doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Check my leg today.
So you live part-time in Mexico in Puerto Vallarta?
Yeah, I have a house in Puerto Vallarta. In actually, it's outside of Puerto Vallarta. It's a place called Las Moras. It's near PTI, which is, I live where all the workers live.
Okay.
And so I don't live with a tourist star. And so it takes we have a club called Nacho Daddy. Mm-hmm. that I was one of the original founders of, and we have Tex-Mex there, and I play there, and it's about 35 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like we've been going since 2009. So when I come, back every night after a couple of 3 margaritas, it's like I was driving for a while through those traffics, and it's like, and they had this thing called alcoholimetros, It's Mexican checkpoints where they blow into somebody's hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I learned all the. I'm not that much of a drinker, but I learned all the back roads to get back to my house. 40 minutes later, every night on Saturday and Friday nights, and then a friend of mine that's playing in the blues band there said, "Why don't you just take a taxi?" I said, "Yeah." So I started taking taxis last 3 years. So I have a taxi driver now, a couple of taxi drivers, and so I talk to them all the way to the gigs. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, it's a wholly different scene down there.
When you come back here, does it freak you out? Does Austin freak you out?
Yeah, it does.
Like visually, when you pull in, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. I went in down South Lamar yesterday,
Yeah, that's the weirdest.
And it reminds me of the canyons of Manhattan. Starting the canyons of Manhattan.
Yeah.
And it's starting to look like that. I'm going, wow. And I was asking somebody at Waterloo, where'd all these people come from, and what do they do, and where do they, where are they getting the money for all this? I mean, what is it,
Yeah, that is the one thing they're talking. There's so much talk. I don't know. Do you know about the census, the music census that came out, and the
where the musicians are getting edged out or something? Or?
Yeah, where they just realize musicians are poor.
They're getting what?
Where musicians are poor, they just realize it. But you can't. They can't really afford living in town. I mean,
yeah.
As soon as they decide to tear this place down and put up condos, I'm gonna,
Are they gonna do that?
I don't know.
Probably. Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, I was talking to Terry Lacaz, and he's got a thing where he lives in an apartment like this, but he shows them how much he makes, and he gets a deal, of $750, which is not great, but it's okay.
Right. So, sorry to get off the real estate market,
yeah.
but Chiliando, man, what a great album.
You like it? It's cool.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
And to me, it's your toughest sounding album. You know what I mean? It's recorded. Rick Del Castillo did a great job, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like your hardest, out of the gate. It's like your hardest rockin' album.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I had all the Tex-Mex stuff. I have 60 songs sitting there, and he took all the rockers.
Yeah,
and that's what this is. And so, and he's playing on it, and he had he kept doing take after take after take till it was like perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's the most rockin' record I've ever done.
Yeah,
I just hope other people recognize that. I mean, Rick did a really good job, and he did most of the arrangements too.
That's great, man. He and he played on it. You did it out at his place in Kyle?
Yeah.
How was that?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is a great producer, man. He is a really great producer.
He is.
Yeah.
Did he engineer it as well?
He engineered it, produced it, did everything. Yeah.
Because the way it's recorded is really just, it's great. Super real and organic.
Yeah.
And very dry and like you're getting what you're hearing. It's making the hair on my arm stand up just talking about it. It's really good, man.
No, I was, it was a real magical experience. We took our time doing it, and Albert Bestedo was the bass player for Del Castillo for 12 years. He and Rick were roommates, so they know each other real well. And Albert came from a band called the Connectors from the Valley. They're the best band on the island on South Padre, and he is the most under-recognized lead guitar player in Texas. And him and Rick played together. So, and Albert's out there. And so the interesting thing is that Albert and Rick can work together. And the solos that Albert's doing on this thing are incredible. I mean, he's a really great guitar player.
Yeah.
And I'm playing lead on it too. But Rick is but man, Albert's doing some real tasty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The albums really is great. And I get excited because I get scared for myself as a musician that as I get older, I'm going to start kind of. You know what I mean?
Mellow out.
Or not mellow out, but just kind of lose your edge a little bit, But there's guys like you and Alejandro out there that are like John D. I mean, guys that are just still kicking ass, like still making real music.
Yeah, well, I think you got to, if you're going out, you got to go out rocking. Right? What else can you do, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. And there was a little less Tex-Mex stuff on this. It's the first one I've done that didn't really have those Tex-Mex vamps, and so I hope that people like it. It's a little more bluesy, you know. And it comes from living in Puerto Vallarta at a place called Nacho Daddy's. I'm watching where people are at, and I sort of ride around what I see,
Yeah. It still has your your songs though. Like you have there's a levity to your songs.
Yeah.
No matter what really you're singing, there's like you have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You play music that's both rock and roll and Tex-Mex, and you sing like that too,
Yeah.
which is really awesome.
Well, it's Chuck Berry
Yeah,
to a degree.
yeah, yeah.
The song, first song, my Ding Dong Daddy Don't Daddy No More is I'm from north of Amarillo. It's Dumas, right? I grew up in Dumas, and in Dumas, the theme song for the high school, every game, all your whole life, you just hear, I'm a Ding Dong Daddy from Dumas. You hear that every day.
Yeah.
And so it's the theme of Dumas, right? And so, and I was playing my, when I had the Crowns reunion, we played my high school reunion, right? And they were looking at me like, and I told everybody in the band, I says, I don't think my Ding Dong Daddy Don't Daddy no more, you know? And that's where that came from. I had the title. Then I had this crazy dream. I guess about a year ago. It was a dream, and it was Jay Leno in a little sports car singing. He had a helmet on, and it was I used to ride, used to rock, and he was singing. And I woke up and I thought, wow, he's a comedian. He doesn't sing, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, what song was he singing? Because it was really good, and that was the song he was singing. And so I was pretty close to that, and that's where it kind of came from, you know,
Yeah.
and it came from a dream.
Do you wake up and write when you hear that stuff?
Exactly. I go, I'm halfway asleep, halfway not asleep.
Yeah.
And something comes, and I have a tape recorder. I still use cassettes because if I use digital, it'll get deleted.
Yeah.
And so I'll put it down, and I'll put it down on cassette as fast as I can, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I operate. I mean, I do it almost every night. Right as I'm getting this place, you can either get up and grab your guitar, or grab the idea, or you can go fall back to sleep, and it's just there's an interim place where you're getting this gift, and so most of the time, about 80% of the time I'll put it on tape, but there's 20% I go, I'll remember it tomorrow, yeah, which you don't, yeah. So you got to grab them, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like that when I'm riding around or something. I'm always writing songs down, you know, ideas down on pieces of paper, and I've sort of started doing it on my iPhone, but it's not good to text while you're driving. So anyway, so that's how I write, you know. And in Mexico, you know, I'm doing the same thing. I'm when I'm not working at Nacho Daddy, I'm going down the coast, surfing or body surfing down the coast, and I've always got my tapes going and you know, working on ideas. And the hardest part is going back into your tapes and dissecting them and trying to figure out what your brain was doing, right?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you friends with Sammy Hagar?
I have known Sammy, yeah.
Because in my dream life of yours,
yeah,
you guys are like you ride 3-wheelers over to each other's houses and hang out and jam out. Just because he has that sort of like same laid back.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I hung out
thing.
with him, and you know, he's got his place in Cabo, and I got this place in Vallarta. Yeah. But his seems to be doing a little bit better than mine. I think he made a $30 million deal on his tequila. You know, well, we have the dog rescue at Viva Pedals.
Yeah, that is a great.
And so we're going to make a Viva Pedals tequila, you know.
Oh, that's great.
And then all my money, if I have any when I die, is going to go to the Viva Pedals to saving dogs, you know. So that's
good.
So that's kind of why I'm still doing what I do.
I have a couple of awesome dogs. They don't live with me. They live with my ex, their mom, but we have dual custody.
Yeah. And so, and today is the day, my Anna, my Jack Russell, she's been in every show I've done for 19 years. Today's her 19th birthday.
Wow.
She's 19 years old, hanging in there, man. We just did a 3-week tour, and we went from New Mexico, Colorado, all the way up to Idaho, to Seattle, and back down to Oregon and California, San Diego, and back. You know.
Yeah.
And she made it, you know, barely.
Well, you have 3 of them, right?
Well, one died in
one died.
January,
okay.
And I got her, and she's like barely hanging in there. It's like, you know, it's tough.
Yeah.
But, you know, I take her still with me, and she's hanging in there. She's tenacious.
While we're talking about Viva Perros, can we, people can go to vivaperros.org and donate there and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we sell these Mexican bags that go to
yeah.
the Viva Pedals stuff, too.
I'll post a link on the Facebook page and stuff for you. I think that's a great thing that you're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you go through Mexico, man. You go see all these dogs, man. They and you feel really bad for them. And Vallarta, there's enough of a community there where they really try to rescue dogs. But that's just only one town out of 10,000 towns. And most towns in Mexico, dogs just don't have a chance. You know. And it's a tough place to be a dog, you know. And also, we're going to try to donate to Kathmandu, the dogs of Kathmandu, or Kathmandu, because of the earthquake, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's that, you know, that keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally. Can I tell you a story real fast?
Yeah.
Okay, so I lived in Austin in the mid '80s when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then I moved away after my mom died, like in the '85. Came back though in '91.
Yeah.
Okay, and I started playing and stuff. Anyway, I had this trio, and we had this gig. I want to say it was like 1996, and it was at Cafe on the Square in San Marcos.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we showed up for our gig there, and there was already a band set up. And we were
Wow.
like, "What?" And so we went and talked to the dude. He's like, "No, you know, you're not booked." And it was you that was playing.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly how it all went down, but I know that you were like, you kind of knew. I think we were like, oh, you know, shit, like if we don't play tonight, we're not going to be able to get to Corpus tomorrow, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And you had us play, and we got paid. I don't know if it was you that did it or if they did it, but I've always like been like, that guy's a hero to me.
Oh well, thanks.
Yeah, you made sure that we got to do our gig.
I think I remember that gig too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So and then you left. Where'd you go back after that? You left Austin after that, or?
Oh, no. I lived in Austin. Then I lived here in the Congress House. Actually, you know what? I lived in the Congress House when I moved here in 1991, and they had cable there. And I was watching Comedy Central one afternoon, like 91, 92, and I saw your. I can't find it anywhere now, but I saw your SNL. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of the. There's three people that were banned from Saturday Night Live. It was me and Captain Beefheart and
Elvis.
Tom
Petty.
The jazz trumpet.
Wynton Marsalis?
No.
Miles Davis?
Miles Davis, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He took, yeah.
So what happened? Because you ran out in the audience.
Yeah, I ran out.
I remember that.
It freaked the camera guys out, and freaked the camera guys out, and they were like, cameras are going around and around, and where did he go?
Yeah.
You know, and it came, but it was cool. It was a good show, and I in retrospect, I did "Don't Bug Me, Baby," which was a great rocker, and I did it, but in somehow ways, I wish I'd done Buena, because I still play Buena, and it's a really good song. But it was a good show. It was
Buena, I remember seeing Buena on MTV.
Yeah, that was my first video.
Yeah,
we shot that, and I got in that video. It was controversial because I got arrested in front of Buckingham Palace.
Oh yeah,
we were shooting, and I marched. I went in front of the Royal Guardsmen. You know, they're changing to the guards, and I was singing, lip syncing, and. Man, all of a sudden I felt myself being lifted up off the ground.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden I was hanging in the air, and I was running, and there was a horse beside me, and I was being, you know, somebody had my neck.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guy was carrying me by the neck, and he said, "You're under arrest." I'm going. I'm shooting a video, you know, and he says, "You've been," and they set me down. He says, "You insulted the Queen and the Prince of Wales and all this stuff," and I'm going. And I'm thinking, God, they're going to deport me, man. You know, it's like, also I'm getting arrested in front of Buckingham Palace. I'm just going, God, I've been 3 days in England. I'm already, you know, getting thrown out. But the director came over and apologized and said we were shooting a video. But the sad thing is the camera crew freaked out and stopped shooting when they saw it going down.
Right.
Had they kept shooting, it would have been really...
Yeah, that would have been a cool video.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I was just reading this book called I Want My MTV. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's this book that's kind of... It's fantastic. It's one of those books where they have just like a paragraph from like tons of artists, people, executives at MTV, record executives, video directors, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you were a guy that they wanted to be like an MTV artist, like an artist that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You did the Christmas song and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that is intense, man.
Yeah, it was. It was, I just sort of like, okay. It was fun, and I hosted a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, you can host in 30 minutes and be done, It's like, okay. But it was fun. I had a good time doing it. And I still hear them on satellite radio, Martha Quinn and those guys. And hey, it was good. It's funny. MTV's not the same as it was then or Fresh,
No.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I've been in Mexico for 9 years, right?
Yeah.
And they still have MTV shows like MTV in Mexico where it's just bands playing, and you get to see bands from Argentina and all the bands from Mexico, and they still have that vibe down there, which they don't have here. There's music still, rock and roll is still new to people down there, and they're still, they're not cynical with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you're getting, it's like really happening. That's one of the reasons I moved to Mexico, because they're still like, man, okay, let's go do it,
Yeah.
And they're still having these cool festivals, and it's a different vibe, but it's really cool. I mean, it's rock and roll. There's great bands. I listen to bands from Argentina and Los Babasonicos and the Fabulous Cadillacs, and there's always great rock bands in Mexico. So it's that's what keeps me. And I don't get what goes on here in the States, so I just get exposed to what's going down there. So I see a little bit what goes on up here, but it's pretty good for me to down there be there, because I see a different something different.
Well, there's a part of you, it seems, that's always been there.
Yeah.
Even when you were here,
Yeah.
there was like half of you was here.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah. And so you get a lot of European TV there. So you're seeing what's going on in Europe, and
Right.
you get German TV and Spain. So yeah, it keeps my writing fresh to a degree. And so on this, what I do is I try to write, with Spanish. Everybody's done rock and roll. You can say pretty much everything's been said. So I just kind of turned it over to more Spanglish now,
Yeah.
And hopefully people can get that Spanglish. That's what Chiliando means. Chiliando means chilling out,
Yeah.
And so that's where it's vamos a chilear. Let's go chill out,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Cuban, so there's all kinds of those kinds of
I think that's
things
more.
in
I
there.
think Chiliando's a Cuban expression out of
Oh, yeah?
Miami. Yeah. And Hangiando's hanging out.
Chiliando. Do you still get to Europe and play?
I haven't here lately, but I still we did a few years ago. Went back to toured Europe as a 3-piece, and we did 12,000 miles. Man,
Wow.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was good. I love Europe, and I hope to go back. Maybe this will get me back.
Yeah. I hope so, man, because this is great. I saw you were getting some play on the satellite stations.
We get
stuff?
played on Outlaw Radio
Outlaw
a lot.
Radio?
Yeah, Mojo plays us a lot. In fact, when we were just in San Diego, he came out to our show and sound check, and he plays us a lot.
That's great,
So
man.
Mojo's a really good guy, man.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to be on Garage.
Yeah.
Little Steven, that's what my goal, man. Is just.
Do you know him?
I've never met Little Steven. I like his stuff. I like what he does, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his show. He's a real big fan of music.
Yeah, and I like what they do. Do you listen to Garage?
No, I don't listen to satellite radio.
Yeah,
But I know his show.
Yeah, it's a great. I kind of go between Garage, Outlaw Country is Mojo, and then Bluesville. It's kind of those, and then a couple of Latin ones.
Yeah.
Kind of they keep that mix going.
Yeah.
And then when I'm driving back and forth, man, I don't know if people know this, but the last few years I've been driving back and forth across from Nuevo Laredo all the way to Jalisco. Mm-hmm. And that's with my 3 dogs, mostly by myself, and that's pretty intense because there's a lot, you're out there in the middle of the desert, there's a lot of military checkpoints, there's a drug war going on, so it's a lot of guns, a lot of, 50 caliber machine guns, and so you got to get used to,
right?
Yeah, and you got to get used to talking to 17-year-old kids with Uzis and stuff like that, and AK-47s pointed at you, and it's kind of crazy, and so I give them drink passes from Nacho Daddy and talk to them, and it's sometimes 8 times a day I've been pulled over, and checked out, and it's like, it's this military auto, all of a sudden you start seeing sandbags and,
Yeah.
it's like, and so that's a lot of the writing I do. It comes from those experiences of just seeing that every day,
Yeah.
or in Vallarta, I'll be picking up my bass player, and you're waiting for him to come out of his house, and you're parked in between two Humvees with machine guns, guys running all around. You're going, you wait for him to come out and get in the car, and you just sort of like that's the kind of, you live with that, and it's kind of you go, wow, do I really want to be living like this? But it's Mexico, and I've got property there, and so I'm a permanent Mexican resident.
Wow.
And so I try to just, hope that it gets better there. And when you're driving back and forth, it's you see a lot of crazy stuff, man. I don't know anybody's seen more crazy stuff than me.
Yeah.
I don't see any gringos on the road there anymore. Not driving,
Huh.
And you don't drive at night. Ever. Right. What's that?
Because...
Well, when you hit the checkpoints at night, they all wear masks, right? So all you see is eyes, and it's all dark, and you're seeing somebody with a mask leaning in your car.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, okay. So and then you're seeing a lot of some of the hotels that I stay at, they're occupied by federales, troops that are, because it's like a war going on, right?
Yeah.
So there's 2 days in a row. One time, the first hotel was in Guadalajara, and it's like, I had a room, and there was like 60 other rooms that are all occupied by guys in flags, military special forces guys.
Right.
And they're all out in the halls, texting their girlfriends, and there's me and my 3 dogs. And, you can tell they've been on the move all day. And then the next night, the same thing. The next hotel was the same way. And there's like, all these special forces guys there, and me and my 3 dogs. And so it's like going, wow, this is pretty intense,
Yeah.
But it's sort of reflected in my writing to a degree. I just I see it every day.
Yeah. Do you tour around there or just play it?
Up down the coast, up the West Coast, and we played Mexico City. I have a pretty good following in Mexico City.
Yeah.
We played a big show there, and they knew all the 80s albums, and knew all the words to all the songs, and going, wow. So, yeah, Mexico City is a cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of that stuff do you still play? Just out of a question, because you've got so much material now.
I know, it's weird. I do Caca de Vaca, I do Buena, and I do some off of the original Molino. I try to do a little bit off each album. I don't Let a Woman Make a Fool Out of You, which was the Michael Jackson thing, which I should. But I try to do 2 songs off each CD.
How did that happen? How did Michael Jackson...
When we were with MCA,
yeah,
we were at Studio 55 in Los Angeles, and we were in one studio. It was like this house here, and they were in Jackson 5 or in the other, mixing their Jackson 5 live CD. And,
oh, wow.
And the brothers were in that. My band and all the guys in my band, everybody's watching the World Series in one.
Okay, in like a lounge.
And then in the office, which was off there, was Michael sitting there, and I was in there trying to figure out my words to my songs, right? So he'd be sitting at one desk, I was at another, and I started talking, started saying hi, talking to him, a lot, and I like Bob Marley, so he told me that he'd hung out with Bob Marley, so I kept just asking him stuff about that, and kept asking him stuff. We were talking about music. Then this was back in the 80s, I had a Walkman, and he didn't even have a Walkman then.
Wow.
And I had Off the Wall, and I said, hey, you want to hear your album Off the Wall? And I just, back then I recorded the vinyl onto the cassette, right? And he spent like 3 days listening to that over and over and over again,
Wow.
And
so Thriller wasn't out yet.
No.
So it wasn't like...
No.
It was like the Michael Jackson that was famous to me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I had a cartoon on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Grew up and said, hey, I'm going to go... But explosion Thriller thing. Wow.
And then he said, hey, you want to go with me and check mixes? So I'll go around with him to go listen to mixes, and I'd see all these business guys looking at him like seeing how he liked the mixes, and then he had a white Rolls Royce or something outside, and I'd see all these girls like hanging out at his Rolls Royce, and he was a real nice guy. He's real cool. I just and I invited him to some shows out there. He didn't come, but I did talk to him on the phone. I got his phone number,
Wow.
And he was, and then I said, hey, nobody in my band can sing this harmony. Can you come do it? And he said, yeah. So he did 5-part harmonies, those layered harmonies, and great singer. We were like microphone to microphone. By that time, he would hung out, enough that we knew each other pretty well. Wasn't like nervous or anything. 'Cause I seen him every day, and so he nailed it.
Wow.
And
That's
he's a
amazing.
good guy, and then I said, man, I started playing the African music, tried to turn him on to all this different stuff. I was playing a bunch of reggae stuff, and I said, you need to do like an African record, And had he listened to me, probably would still be here today. He probably wouldn't have been his biggest thriller, but Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but he was a good guy. I liked him,
What kind of African stuff? I've been listening to a lot of Fela Kuti lately.
Yeah, Fela Kuti. I listen to all this stuff, just different, all those guitars, just the guitar stuff out of Africa.
I love that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. I think African music's really cool. And I think it's changing over there. That stuff, the stuff that happened in the 60s and 70s, I don't think it's happening anymore. It's got more electronic now.
Right.
So
that's the stuff that I really like kind of the soul funk.
Yeah, exactly.
Of that West
Yeah.
African thing.
And who's the guy that had the radio show, back on KUT.
John Ailey?
No. He died. He was.
I don't know.
Anyway,
we'll remember it.
Yeah, he got busted here, and he
Dan Del Santo.
Dan Del Santo, and then he went to Oaxaca, and Dan Del Santo was really, he played those African shows,
Yeah.
And he was a great guy too, man.
He's credited for coming up with the term world beat.
Really?
That's what I remember that.
Yeah, and his show was really incredible.
Huh. There was something else I was going to ask you about the 80s.
The Go-Go's?
The Go-Go's. Did you toured with you opened for the Police and the
I
Go-Go's?
opened for the Police. I did a bunch of gigs with Joan Jett, The Fix. We opened for Grand Funk. We opened for Black Oak, Arkansas. It's like, you name it, I opened for them. We did tour of the Talking Heads. We did Boomtown Rats, and a lot of the Police, and a lot of Go-Go's and a lot of Joan Jett and everybody,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you know Kathy from here or no? You just
I knew Kathy. She came to one of my shows at the Whiskey Go-Go, and that's before I think she was even in the Go-Go's.
Okay.
That's where I knew her from, and then she got into Go-Go's, and wow, and at that point, and then I lived on 6th Street in West Lynn, and I had a condo, and her mother was my next door neighbor.
Oh, yeah. Her.
Margaret became, so when Joe Nick left, Margaret became my manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my manager was Margaret Valentine, and her daughter was a Go-Go, and then that's how I knew Clem Burke. I spent Christmas with Clem and hung out with him in England, and it was pretty cool. Margaret was really cool.
That's weird. I'm just doing a whole circle. You're friends with BP Fallon, aren't you?
Yeah, he lives where I live right now. Yeah. We've been BP and I. We met on the Stiff tour in 1980, and he was the publicist for Stiff Records too, and I was with him the day that John Bonham died, and he was because he'd been the publicist for those guys, and he was really upset, and we stayed in touch. And I didn't see him for a few years. All of a sudden, he showed back up in '92 or 91 in Austin off the U2 tour, right? When the U2 stopped doing their Ashtung Baby tour.
Yeah.
He showed up and ended up living at my house for 6 months.
Wow.
And then he did a U2 book at my house. And so those guys were all calling the house all the time working on this book. And then ever since then, we've just been on and off. He stays where I stay here in Austin,
Yeah.
Yeah. He and I write together too and do stuff, and BP's my soulmate forever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had him on the show, and he had done some stuff with Clem too.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing with BP.
Oh, you have?
I'm the rhythm guitar player.
Oh, awesome.
And me and James, and we had Mike Mills playing bass.
Oh, it's awesome.
And then Clem playing drums.
Wow. That's a great band.
And then Annie Marie Lewis, and then James B. Harvey playing, and then BP Fallon. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that comes around, that's what you got, a great band,
Yeah, it's a cool band to be in. Yeah, I'll definitely come back for that.
And then we had another time. We had is it Dominique?
Dominique, yeah.
She's a good bass player too.
Yeah, she's great. I've got her picture on my wall there.
Yeah, no, she's good. So no, I like playing BP. I like being a sideman too. That's fun.
Have you gotten to do that a lot? in your
Sometimes I
career?
did in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah.
In Mexico, when I first went to Mexico, they didn't know who Joe King Carrasco was.
Yeah.
And there's a band there that played my stuff, but I was playing in a place. I mean, it was tough, man. I was playing, it's like being on Bourbon Street. It's like party scene, real hardcore. And I mean, Bourbon Street's one thing, Vallarta's a whole nother thing. It makes Bourbon Street look like kindergarten. It's way more intense.
Whoa.
Way more intense. I mean, the bars that out in Vallarta were lit out at 10:30, 12 in the morning, at 10:30 in the morning, 11:30 in the morning. I mean, anything goes, anything. And then the drug war happened to kind of clamp down. But at that time, I started playing at 11:30 at night till 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And it was like I had to learn cover songs and the whole works and the whole things. I was nobody, and I sort of built myself up and gained a reputation there. It was like starting over again here in Austin, But except it was Mexico, and then we started the Nacho Daddy in 2009. But I got there in 2006.
Okay.
And it was it was an interesting time. I had a little apartment and kind of I thought I was going to be there 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks turned 3 months and 3 years, and then all of a sudden 10 years.
You just love the culture?
Yeah, I do, and it was great weather, and it was just, it was nice. You're in Austin. It was nice to take a break and try a different groove, And
Yeah,
plus,
totally.
I like the beach. I like the waves, and going out and I have property up in the mountains above Vallarta, about an hour and a half. It goes 7,000 feet up.
Oh, wow.
It's up in the mountains, like being in Colorado, and so you can be up freezing you're one moment and body surfing an hour later and burning up, So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so it's like the best of both worlds, and plus, like on the CD, I grab a lot of slang, From I'm playing with Mexican musicians, I play with Cuban musicians. A lot of the guys I play with are Cuban.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so you're just always picking up slang, and yeah, one of the so that's how I find the words to the songs. I'm always I'm listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a place there called the Bodeguita del Medio, which is a Cuban place, and so they bring in these bands from Cuba. And they're supposed to stay for 3 months, right, or 6 months, and they're great bands. I mean, these guys are like trained, really incredible bands, and so what happens is those guys get there and they're so popular, they fall in love with Mexican girls and they don't want to go back.
Oh, yeah.
So so there's a whole Cuban community there, and at one time, I was bringing the instruments here from Austin, from straight music down to Mexico to give them, supplying the Cubans with
their
instruments. And my trumpet player is Ornelio. He's from Havana, and then my drummer is from Cuba also. So yeah, so they're great musicians.
That's awesome.
The drummer that I had was Captain. We call him Morgan. He's Morgan, but he's all black. But he served in Angola for 3 years, in the military. And he's interesting guys, And the Cuban Spanish, most of the Mexicans can't even understand the Cubans.
No.
Can you speak Spanish?
See.
You understand Cuban Spanish?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
cool.
That's the Spanish I speak. Can I tell you something that'll make you laugh? I lived in Mexico when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And my family came in 1960 when Castro took over. And my grandmother, since she had a Spanish accent when she spoke English, people would ask if she was Mexican. And you know how, like, all Spanish people, they're like, no, it's us and the Spaniards. Everyone else is below us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I lived in Mexico, and when I came back, I think I was like 5, but I went to say something, and I said it with a Mexican accent, and my grandma was like, you stop that.
Oh, wow.
You talk like a Cuban.
Where'd you live in Mexico?
In Fortín de las Flores, in Veracruz, in
Oh,
between
wow.
Orizaba
I
and
know,
Córdoba.
oh, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever been back?
I haven't been back since I was in my 20s.
Yeah, 14 Lights. It's a real beautiful place.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place.
I could live there.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. My brother married a Cuban girl, right?
Oh, yeah?
And so in the 90s, 98, 6, I played the wedding in Havana.
Oh, wow. So you've been there?
Oh, yeah. I played and I rented an apartment on the Malecon, and I played with the Cuban musicians there, and those guys are like, man, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
I mean, between the A and E chords, they get 6 chords. It's like, God, these, Cuba's a beautiful place. Now that it's going to open up, I'm just going, wow, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because it was totally then untouched,
Right.
Now you're going to see Starbucks and McDonald's.
Do you have that in Puerto Vallarta?
Oh, yeah, there's like 5 Starbucks there, and there's a McDonald's. It's yeah, but but once you get out of Vallarta, it just it's nothing.
Yeah.
Being Vallarta is kind of like being in Vegas to a degree. Parts of it,
I understand that.
There's 150 probably hotels. Each 2 bands, each hotel figure 300 bands. Wow. That's a lot of bands, And there's no music stores there really, and all the musicians in Mexico who want to work, gravitate toward Vallarta just to work, right? And a lot of good jazz musicians too, and I play with a bass player named Steve York. He used to play with Manfred Mann. He did that song. Then he did that song called Gloria. He did that, and he knows like everything in the old English scene. He hung out with Jack Bruce and stuff like that. So he and I play together too. So that's cool playing with him.
Yeah. And
then the keyboard player from Santana lives there too. And a lot of good musicians come down there and hang out. Even Emmylou Harris was hanging out down there, and people like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an interesting scene. A lot of musicians pass through.
That's amazing.
One time I was getting gas at the Pemex near my house, and there's a big ship there. I looked up on stage. It was Robert Cray on the Blues Cruise. And wow, yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I wish I'd been on a Blues Cruise.
Yeah.
Maybe this CD, because it's got R&B, we'll get on a Blues Cruise.
Yeah, maybe the Blues Cruise people will listen to it.
Have you heard the last song?
Yeah,
Ain't No Touch?
I heard them all, yeah.
Yeah, Ain't No Touch is a cool song.
Yeah, they're all great songs, man.
That's my favorite song.
That is?
Well, that and Oaxaca. I like Oaxaca. Oaxaca
a lot,
means
too.
what? Oaxaca means it's what's up.
Well, how does that mean?
It means like, hey man, Oaxaca.
Oh,
what's up? It means like, hey Oaxaca, and they go, it means like, what's up? Like, what's up, Oaxaca? What's up?
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
I remember spending time there when I was a kid in Mitla.
Oh yeah,
Oaxaca.
Mitla's cool.
That's a cool town.
What are you doing in Mitla?
My mom and her then husband collected bromeliads.
Wow, bromeliads. Wow, cool.
Yeah, and they'd bring them back and sell them at plant shows.
Really?
Yeah. It was the 70s, man.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends that collected bromeliads. It's a big deal. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's wild.
I wonder if they know the same people.
Do you know a guy named Michael Hughes?
I don't know if I do.
He used to live here for a long time in the 90s.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I knew a lot of people that collected bromeliads, and they still do. It's bromeliads. Did you ever get into bromeliads or no?
I mean, no, I was a little kid.
Did you ever get into orchids? Or like, there's always orchid societies.
No, orchids are bromeliads, right?
I guess.
Because a bromeliad is the kind of plant that feeds off of the moisture in the air.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of expats in Vallarta, and people who've run from the States.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of these old ladies are like are into bromeliads. There's a friend of mine named Barbara Sands who passed away a couple of years ago, and she wrote for the paper there, and she was a big fan. So the paper there, she always had articles, but she collected bromeliads, and anyway, she at 20 years old lived with Clint Eastwood and his wife.
Wow.
And she had all these photos, back in the 50s with Clint Eastwood, and then when he did The Good, Bad, and Ugly, she was with him in Spain, so she was always photographing it, right, on photos. And this last year, she passed away, and I was like one of her closest friends. Her family came down; they didn't want anything, so they put it all in my house this last year. All her stuff.
Wow.
She collected for 50 years, antiques and all this stuff. And so I've got these about 10,000 photos that she took through the last 50 years of, the Clint Eastwood thing.
That is awesome.
I know. And I got to go get that stuff. And it's like, and even Clint Eastwood's wife called me up and wanting it, so I'm going, okay.
Wow.
But she was a cool lady. And she was, in 50, 60 years ago, she looked stunningly beautiful. And she was 82 when she died. But she was a really interesting lady. And, there's some crazy party ladies that went down to Mexico and never came back.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, no, it's and there's also some people probably outlaws too. People wanted
people going there and getting lost.
Yeah, there's people who are running from the heat.
Yeah.
And so it's a cool place to be. It's heavy, man. But it's had a big impact on my writing, and I've got to go back down and switch places. Actually, my house where I live right now. Actually, I got to go pay my water bill today down there. But the funny thing is that I still keep going back and forth, and we sell the Mexican bags I do out of Mexico. We get all the shirts made there and stuff, and but despite everything that's going on, I keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're. Hey, let me ask you a question. Did you really live in Nicaragua in the 80s?
Yeah.
What,
Well, I went to school there. I went to a language school there. Yeah.
Okay, the way it's written in like Wikipedia or something, it's almost like you went there. Like I was like, wow, that was like a bad place to go in the 80s.
Well, I went there, and I went to a school there, and I talked to them into having a field trip to the front, and stuff like that.
Really?
And, yeah, I went to the coast there, and now my brother's been living there for 10 years, 12 years. He lives in Nicaragua.
Wow.
Yeah, I was on the phone with him before I got here, and yeah, it was back then. It was the Sandinista thing,
Yeah,
and
the
I
Contras.
went to a Sandinista school, and
You did?
yeah, and it was a really cool experience, and that was musically that was cool too. You got to keep finding things to keep the brain going, and try to keep moving, and
Yeah.
or musically and explore, keep it fresh, and I even hung out in Colombia. One of my best friends lives in Bogota, and he puts on a lot of festivals. He has a TV show there, and we write together. And his name's Camilo Pombo, and he managed a guy named Cabas for a while. I don't know if you ever Cabas, but and Camilo's a great man. When we write together, it's really cool.
That's good.
Yeah. So I got to go to Bogota to work with him.
Nice. What do you do with that material?
We're going to start. I think the Camilo song it's coming up the next album.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's like. So yeah, and I write with my friend, a drummer in Mexico too. I collaborate with him, Luis, and he's from Chihuahua.
Uh-huh.
So it's Spanglish. Everybody's in Vallarta. There's so many gringos there. All the cab drivers are speaking Spanglish now.
Yeah, that's good.
And I bet they'll be in Cuba pretty soon too.
Yeah, totally. I bet they will be.
So you haven't been back to Cuba?
I've never been there.
Yeah, you should go.
No, I was born here.
Really? You were born in Cuba?
No, I was born here.
Yeah, you should go to Cuba and check it out, man. It's really beautiful, man. The Cuban people are really cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting in Vallarta. I've noticed that the Cubans and the Mexicans, with the Mexican musicians, there's like a little friction there, because they think that the Cubans are trying to take their jobs. The musicians are,
right.
coming in, and the Cubans seem to have more of a educated way about them,
Right.
Does that make sense? Or
yeah, no, I mean,
more
I wonder if the education system there and like the medical system is really good, like they say.
It is, yeah. They're
You've been
real
there.
sophisticated, It's interesting, seeing these guys coming out of Havana get into the Bodeguita and they go, whoa,
Yeah.
and all these beautiful women everywhere. They don't want to go back.
Yeah, I bet they don't.
No, they don't.
And there's all these turistas, americanas.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, how Cuba develops. But the thing that when they open up Cuba, it's going to hurt Cancun. It's going to hurt Vallarta.
Totally.
It's going to because all these people have been going to the same resorts all these years.
Yeah.
Are going to want to see Cuba, and so it's going to change the field, the playing field for a lot of resorts or those areas.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, it's already affected. People are going, wait a minute, man. Now instead of they're going to Cancun, they're going to be going to Havana.
It's essentially the same ocean, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that far from
but
Cancun.
it's a lot
to
more.
Cuba.
It's a lot different and a whole different culture, but it's still Latin. Yeah.
Different food.
Yeah, and I've I still take guitar lessons, all kinds. Yeah, I study all kinds of different guitars. I've got a guitar guy in Mexico that he's Cuban. We're going to start studying son music, which is Cuban style, and just to learn.
Yeah. You've had some songs covered, like by Texas Tornadoes and even Manu Chao.
Yeah.
Do you write for other people?
Well, I mean, I write my stuff and somebody covers it. Yeah. I was really surprised Manu Chao did it, and he's like a big fan. You know who Manu Chao is, right?
Of course.
And he's a great guy, and I was just, man, when he played here in Austin, it was like, man, he treated me really nice. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
and he's a good guy,
Yeah.
I somehow back in the 90s or 80s, they said I turned a tour down with Manu Chao, and I go, I did? I said, it had to be the management that did it or something, But yeah, I mean, he's huge, man.
He is huge.
Yeah.
And very inventive, man. He's always doing something new. I love listening to his records.
It's going to be interesting to see what, where he goes. He told me he was going to go into cumbia, which is...
Right.
I didn't do any cumbia on this new one, but I do a lot of cumbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It's hard not to. Like, once you can learn, like, once you can master that rhythm enough to play it.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, when I'm playing, we'll do like a kind of a Tex-Mex vamp thing, tornadoes kind of thing or whatever,
Right.
and then I go into polkas, and then I do a lot of cha-cha because I play the Cuban guys because we're doing a lot. They do
Right.
cha-cha's Cuban, right? And so we're doing a lot of cha-cha. Then we do cumbia. Then I go into Chuck Berry. Then then I go into triplets. I do a lot of different styles,
Do you ever do solo shows like a?
Yeah, I'm
solo-
going to do a songwriter thing on Saturday night with Augie Myers where I do 5 songs. But yeah, I'd like to start doing acoustic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. In fact, and when it's slow time Vallarta, when they can't afford to pay the guys, I'm doing it by myself.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, they have in Vallarta. It's weird. They have a high season, low season. The high season is November through April, and
Right.
it's people, and it doesn't really pick up till December or January through March, right? And then all of a sudden they're gone. It's like the place is empty, and so it's very humbling to play for nobody.
Yeah.
And I've done that.
Even there?
Oh yeah. Well, there's nobody, there's no tourists. You're playing the bar, but you keep playing because you're working at the bar. So it's like, hey, it's like
This
the
is what
waiters.
I do.
Yeah, this is what you do, right?
Yeah.
So you're just playing the tables.
you
And I still do
love-
the same. I still do the same show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love, I did a show with you once at 40 Acres Fest on UT campus.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
it was like the afternoon or some shit, and
Yeah.
you were like climbing stuff and like
Yeah.
all over the place. I was
Yeah.
just like, God, what
I still do it.
you do?
I still bounce
Just
a guitar.
like
I bounce a guitar on my head, and I'll do all this stuff. I still, still run around. I mean, that's the whole key. Is you get. I still go out in the audience. I still go out and do this, a real crazy show, and I get in the audience. We did our show this last weekend in Terlingo, Viva Terlingo, and we headlined. And I get off and go in the audience and get up on the bar and bounce a guitar on my head and do all this.
Still there, man.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah.
What do you do when you're not playing shows to stay in shape? Because you can't. I mean, I can't. I have to exercise all the time, or I can't really sing.
Yeah,
like I really sing.
Yeah. Well, last year in Mexico, I was going to the gym every day. When I'm here, I've been pretty busy. I go out to my house on land and work and do stuff, or just I have dogs, man. The dogs keep you in shape. I probably should exercise more. I almost got. What can I say? So I guess it's time. Hit that switch.
Yeah. So you guys are finishing up, kind of doing a tour for this album, and you're gonna end up going to Tucson and Bisbee. You're gonna be playing Club Congress. I love that place.
Yeah. We're, next Wednesday we play at Taos Thursday.
Yeah.
And then we play Bisbee on Saturday and Tucson on Sunday, and then zip back to Austin, man. We just drove straight back from San Diego about a week ago, man. And that's the interesting thing. People say, "Oh, these bands are on the road," but they don't see the other side. They don't see when you're 5 miles out of Austin, you're in climbing, going out on 290, and your van's overheating, and you're seeing the lights, the transmission red light come on. You're just going out on the road. You're going, "Oh no," and you're going, "What do we do? Do we turn around and go back and get another vehicle?" Which is what we did last weekend, right?
Right.
And then we were up in Colorado, and we overheated going over to Laramie, and so I had to get a water pump put in. And I drove 16 hours that day to get us to Idaho, to Boise, and then we overheated coming down into Oregon to our gig in Medford, and I was just got a van fixed there, and then we went from Santa Cruz to LA in one day. So we're coming into LA, LA, right?
Yeah.
We're on 5 5 climbs, and I'd been driving all day, so I gave the van to Vince, the drummer, and all of a sudden he says, "Red lights are coming on." I mean, so we're at the top of the pass coming into LA, right? And the van, it's really hot too, man. And it's like big semis, and we're there and we're overheating, and so. And we have a early gig in L.A., on a Sunday afternoon, and this California High Patrol pulls up. "You okay?" I says, "Yeah, I think so," And I let it cool down, and I got back in the van and coasted into L.A. and then then we played our gig in San Diego, and it got out of San Diego at 3:30 in the morning, and I coming out of San Diego on I-8 or whatever road it was, and all of a sudden the transmission heat light comes on. I'm going, ugh. And so you pull over at 3:30 in the morning on the side of the highway, and people don't see that, and that's a pretty. It's some of the guys in the band, they're just oblivious to it, but it's kind of heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
You've been broke down, right,
dude?
Yeah.
In those same passes in Colorado, I remember a tour in Colorado. Yeah. Where I had a drummer that is the first time when something went wrong, like the van's overheated, something's going wrong. People are kind of sleeping in the back of the van, and then all of a sudden it dies, and you pull over, and one guy's like, "Oh, what happened?" We're like, "Oh, we broke down," and then the drummer sits up and goes, "Wah wah wah wah."
Yeah. It's like, what do you do? I've been broke down so many times. I get you don't freak out, but
no,
you always want to make the gig. You do anything to make the gig,
and you almost always do. That's what I've noticed. I've only missed a couple gigs in my life.
I missed 2 times. I missed one time. We got snowed in Klein's Corner in off I-40 trying to do an Albuquerque gig, and we couldn't. Mm-hmm. We had to park the bus and just sit there, and we missed the gig at El Rey Theater in Albuquerque. And another time we missed the 9:30 Club in Washington, D.C. when our bus broke down in the Bronx.
Oh.
New York. I climbed the bus on the side of the road. I climbed out, and off the freeway. It looked like a bombed out, place.
Yeah, was it in the 80s?
Yeah. I mean, it was the Bronx, but that's the only 2 times that's happened.
Do you get up there and play anymore in New York?
I'd like to. I haven't played lately. We're mostly doing the West Coast. Yeah.
I read a nice thing that. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? I like him. We're friends. Rob Patterson wrote it.
Oh, yeah. No, Rob Patterson's a good friend of mine.
I guess he lived in New York when you were going up there and playing at the Lone Star Cafe.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen Rob in a while, but Rob and I were on a plane together flying back in Austin, and Chuck Berry was there, and I came to Chuck Berry and I said, "Oh, man, you're the greatest, you're the best." He just kind of passed me, But I love Chuck Berry, man. He says, I mean, Chuck Berry is amazing. I've opened for him a couple of times. I've opened for Fats Domino. I've opened for Little Richard a few times, And Chuck Berry's just like, he opens up his guitar, goes out there and picks up that band and plays, and 20 minutes, boom, he's gone,
Yeah.
And he's amazing. Playing with Little Richard was pretty cool, too.
You played with, you opened for me, yeah.
Yeah, I played him for a couple of times.
What was that like?
Great. I got to hang out with him, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And, those guys are the kings of rock and roll. I got to hang out with Jimmy Reed, and I got to see Bo Diddley a few times. It's just, golly, and seeing Jerry Lee. And, I really like, there's a magazine I read a lot. It's called Vintage Rock. It's out of England. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
I read that I read it like Teen Beat,
Yeah. There's English magazines always seem to be a little...
Yeah, they appreciate American rock and roll more. And so I think that this record is also comes from more of a rockabilly way or something, more R&B way. But I think, with more Spanglish lyrics.
Yeah, with you. I mean,
If Tengo Muchachitas, like I got a woman, so it's just like it's different, but, and so I just try to take, a phrase in English and put it in Spanish, and that's what I do.
Yeah. I think that's a great, my grandmother does it daily on the phone when I'm talking to her.
Is she from Cuba, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I should send you some of the stuff that she says.
Yeah, no, it's so I collect, I study Spanish a lot, I study Spanish slang. I keep going to school on that too, and I have friends of mine, and I collect, slang books in Spanish.
Yeah?
Yeah, and so that's what I'm always looking for. So we got a new one. It's probably be on the next CD. It's called Quemando las patas del diablo.
Okay.
That means burning the feet of the devil, which is smoking weed.
Oh, okay.
It's about Colorado, yeah.
I like your who put the P in pendejo.
Yeah.
The P in
pendejo.
Yeah.
No, that comes from, I lived with this girl from Tulancingo, and she's from Mexico City, and her mother's, they're from actually Culiacan. and she really, it was a disaster. But I actually got a lot of songs out of that disaster, and I was going back and forth like every few weeks from Vallarta to Mexico City, any way I could.
Yeah.
And it's over to Tulancingo, and I was a very much of a pendejo, and I admit it,
Yeah, but you're in the song.
Yeah, everybody's been a pendejo at once.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what that's about.
Also, sometimes it depends on how you're looking at something, if someone's a pendejo or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From what angle you're looking.
Yeah. Well, I was pendejo from all angles. I thought, what am I doing? I'm driving at 4 a.m. to Tulancingo,
Yeah.
And I get there, oh my God. But it was interesting because actually Tulancingo's not that far from where you're talking about the
14?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah.
It's about 3 or 4 hours,
Yeah.
Beautiful, but I was just like, what am I doing,
Yeah. Women, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about. Mostly everything on there is about women.
Yeah. Well, hey, they're the inspiration.
Yeah. You have to have women inspire you, and they always have. And when I first started riding with JP, my first from the quintet, it was in Hollywood. We were inspired by women.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work.
Usually what made us pick up a guitar and start playing.
That's right.
Was me, at least.
With me, yeah, I saw the Beatles and went, wow.
Yeah.
And so later on, though, I keep playing my guitar, and my guitar's like my best friend, and if I get married again, I'll probably be to one of my guitars.
Yeah.
I just don't know which one.
Well, you can't have that Telecaster,
I know,
because that's the one I'm going to marry.
Yeah, that's a very cool Telecaster. I collect Telecasters, too.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
How much? Do you have a lot of guitars?
Yeah, I got a 57, a 59, and a 60.
Oh, yeah. Those are nice.
Yeah, but I don't take them out anymore. And in fact, one of the Telecasters I have is one that Harry Hess had from the Tornadoes, or from the Quintet, and I bought it from him in the 80s sometime. At this house, I was living in L.A. It was JP, Johnny Perez, and it was Harry Hess who played guitar, Doug, and steel guitar, and then Doug and then me. We had 4 of us living in this apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that none of those guys are alive today. It's only me and Bruno. But it was an interesting scene, and being with JP.
Well, you're younger than them, right?
What's that?
You're younger than Doug.
Oh yeah. But living with JP, every day we'd come out, and JP played with the quintet. After the quintet got busted, he never came back to Texas.
Oh, okay.
And so, but every day we'd come out, we see the big Hollywood sign. He says, Joe, today we got to make it. Okay. So, yeah, and being in L.A. back then in the 70s and 80s was like, Ron Overman, he said, Ron Overman can recognize a hit. Okay, how can you recognize a hit? I was like, God, it's back in the 45 days, the 45s. And it was an interesting time. And back to Chiliando, the sound that Rick was going for in Chiliando was a real 70s sound. If you listen to Anytime You Need Me, it sounds like the Rolling Stones 1969 or something. And then Tequila Revolution's got that,
That's a great song too.
It got that real 70s kind of disco kind of pre-sound, and so that's what sound he was kind of going for on it,
Yeah.
Kind of a 70s kind of just real raw sound.
Well, people should get out there and get it. They can find you at joeking.com. The record is available at all places online. CD Baby is a good place to go look, you think?
Yeah, CD Baby's
Well,
cool.
definitely just go to joeking.com, because there's tons of stuff. And then you can also get involved with vivaperros.org. There's a way to get involved there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I'm missing before they start
mowing the grass? No, because I've been mower, but he just went past. Yeah. Well, what we miss is that I need to get my lawnmower repaired, but I can't find a good lawnmower repair guy.
Do they have those anymore?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. I have 2 lawnmowers at my house in Atlanta, and I weed eat. I do all the work out there at my house. That's good. And then in Mexico, I have a whole collection of plants. I'm the only guy that drags around his palm trees. Okay.
Well, they're expensive.
Yeah, I have a palm tree that I had from a little baby when it was like 6. Here comes the lawnmower again.
He's just sitting right outside the window.
I had a palm tree that was like, I got it at 12 inches high.
Yeah.
Now it's like 30 feet high.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
About 7-8 years.
Wow.
And I want to take it with me when I move out of my house, but everybody's going, you can't take your palm tree now, it's too big.
Yeah.
You know, but I'd like to take my palm tree. It's like my pet, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's your friend.
But I have some different plants I'm going to take with me, you know. And then it's weird, my property up at the 7,000 feet, what grows at sea level doesn't grow at 7,000 feet.
Right.
So that's another dilemma I'm having.
Yeah, palm tree wouldn't grow there.
Yeah, but you know, and the property I have up at 7,000 feet, it's next to a tequila plantation. There's coffee up there. It's beautiful. It's called
that's nice.
San Sebastian. It was built in 1600. It's very, you know, it's most of the houses are built there in 400 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a cool place, man.
Hey, can I ask you a question? This is going to be a good, informative question for those that live in Austin. When you go to get Mexican food here, where do you go? Like, what's your go-to?
Wow, what's the place? Hetero, Mexico, I like.
Okay.
That's a cool place. I like, you know, Fine San Miguel's like really good. I've been
Yeah.
here my whole life. And then I go to, what's Charlie Sexton's ex-wife? What's it? Marty's is good, you know.
Marty's
I like
is good.
them all.
Yeah.
You know, but there's no place like that I get the Mexican thing, you know, like in Mexico. There's a few places in East Austin. I'm a vegetarian, so I got to sit there and watch what they put in the beans and stuff like that, or what they put in the rice and stuff. But a lot of places, Austin's good about that they, you know, they don't put a lot of meat in the stuff.
Yeah, Austin's an easy place to be a vegetarian. I imagine much easier than Puerto Vallarta.
They have vegetarian restaurants in Vallarta. It's really interesting seeing old vegetarians in Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different thing. It's really cool. I go to a vegetarian place there, and it's really interesting. The different people, you know, that you normally see.
Yeah.
And it's you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's vegetarian restaurants in Guadalajara, and you have to work at it. You know, as long as they got tortillas and beans, I'm good. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you look healthy for somebody
Yeah.
that's... How long you been a vegetarian? A long time. I saw you in an interview saying you were.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped. I kind of went on and off about 3 years now. I'm back, you know, down there. I was eating I lived next to a taco stand. It was really good. Then I said I need to stop, you know, and get back. And now if I could just cut out sugar, I'd really have it nailed, you know.
That's hard.
Yeah, but I can do it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they got some great, you know. I mean, I still eat some fish. There's a place there called Memo's Tacos down on Basilio Badillo, and if I was on death row and they said I had one last meal to eat, that'd probably be where I would eat Memo's Tacos.
Okay.
He's got this shrimp taco that's just to die for, you know.
Nice. Yeah.
Then I like Thundercloud subs too. Anyway,
Of course. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I enjoy the Veggie Delight.
Yeah,
at
Veggie Light's
Thundercloud.
good,
Yeah.
you know, with cream cheese on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Are you vegetarian?
Nope.
But you like the veg? Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the Veggie Delight sandwich.
You know, another friend of mine that that has a house there. Her name's Catherine Hardwick. Have you ever heard of her? She booked me back in 79, 80, and she used to ride around at West Campus with flowers in her hair and birds in her hair. She was a real cool hippie girl, right?
Yeah.
And then she went on to Hollywood as a designer, right? And
Really?
then she ended up doing Dogtown, Boys of Dogtown.
Oh, yeah.
And she directed that, and then she directed the first Twilight and wrote the first Twilight.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's, you know, she's a cool Austin lady, and then she's got a house in Sayulita, and I hadn't seen her for a couple of years, but she's a film director, and
Yeah.
she's another person that came out of Austin, now the same thing I did, you know.
Wow, that's...
Catherine Hardwick.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's and she's a vegetarian too. That's why
Yeah.
but she's gone all over the world. She's managed to, and she's, you know, she's older, and she still looks great.
You look great.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad that we got to do this. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Ray,
the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the last... I was like, I know there was one other time I hung out with you.
Yeah. Ray, he did your video, right, or something?
It never got finished.
Oh, okay.
But I always was happy, like, even though it wasn't, I was like, at least I got to hang out with Joe King Carrasco
at the
for a
house
day.
up there, and
Yeah.
that was a cool house. Yeah, no, Ray, I think we moved to Oklahoma, and I haven't seen him, but yeah. Ray's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Z-Ray.
Yeah, Z-Ray.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, you know, Ray was interesting. He was the first guy to get us to. We played Columbia.
Oh,
back
wow.
in '83, you know, and then we.
Jesus, that must have been an interesting time to play in Columbia.
Man.
God.
Yeah, you know, Columbia in '83. Yeah, it was, you know, that's how I met my friend Camilo. You know, and yeah, I love Columbia. You know.
Yeah. And my brother just lived there for like 6 months doing a job there.
Where?
In Bogota.
And Bogota's a great place,
Yeah.
man. I intend on going back. You know? Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah. Viva Bogota! Okay.
Well, man, thank you so much for doing the show. Everyone needs to get out and pick up Chiliando. Once again, you can get it here in Austin at Waterloo and probably Antone's Records and places where records are sold. But, of course, on the internet is where people get most of their stuff. You can find it by going to joeking.com. I'm sure it's on iTunes and at CD Baby.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Perfecto. Ow!
My ding dong daddy, dong daddy, no more.
Joe King Carrasco from his great new album, Chiliando, produced by the great Rick Castillo. You can find it at joeking.com on iTunes and find it physically in Austin at Waterloo and at Antone's Records. Do what you got to do to get involved with Joe King Carrasco. Great conversation with him. He's a great dude living down in Puerto Vallarta, living the dream. Don't forget that you can give to his vivaperros.org, which is his homeless dog nonprofit, which he has going on. Get out there and give to it, all right? Joe King Carrasco, what a great artist, a legend. You know, he's in the Texas Music Hall of Fame. He's out there. He's still doing it, still making music, still rocking. I love him, all right? Joe King Carrasco, let's do it. Hey, guys, while you're out there picking up the new Chiliando album by Joe King Carrasco, don't forget that you can like our Facebook page, How Did I Get Here? You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. And if you want to get really involved, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Johnny Gowdy, okay? At Johnny Gowdy is the thing. I am Johnny Gowdy. At Johnny Gowdy is where you can find me on there, all right? Hey, I'd like to thank Joe for coming by, sitting down, taking the time. I want to thank my friend Joe Ray for setting it up. Joe Ray Domeno, great lady, love her. Thank you, Joe Ray. All right, let's hear some more music from Joe King from his album Chiliando. We're going to find out who put the P in pendejo. This is Joe King Carrasco from his album Chiliando. Let's get down. Have a great week, guys.
Fell in love with La Diablo. I drove all night. I thought it was love. Now I'm all alone, doing single road. No Valley Madre, the way she lied to me. I did not know she was shaking Sancho. Put the P in pendejo. Put the P. Put the P in pendejo. Put the P. Look a lot like me. If you see me coming, walk the other way. Oh yeah, by chain, you did a number on me. Took my pesos away, me robaste. Yo soy el rey, pendejote. Put the P in pendejo. Put the P, look a lot like me. If you see me coming, walk the other way. Sticking with it. You don't need to know every single little bit. A pendejo is what I eat.